Prospect mania continues. Jac Caglioni, Mick Abel, and Cobe Mayo are here as we cover mustache prospects and injured players on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino, here as always with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Onne. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It's going to subscribe you to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And if you're listening, or if you're listening on the audio side of things on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you do that for us as well. And lastly, but what's most important is give us a chance on the Insiders track. You know, we're going to give you that little edge to put you over the top in your fantasy baseball league through text message alerts that are going right to your phone, offering so much more than we can in these 30-minute episodes. And this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And all right, Matt, we were talking about this off air. I don't know if I've ever, in the last 10 years maybe, have seen a year with so many major prospect call-ups. And today, it's usually a stash episode, but we've got three major prospect call-ups, and we got to start first with the Italian, Mr. Jac Caglioni.
You come to me on the day of my son's call up, like asking me for a favor. I'm ready. Oh.
Go ahead, Matt. Take the wheel, my brother. Take the wheel.
Jac Caglioni, the mobster himself, is just finally has gotten the call, and the dude has been absolutely monstrous to the point where I honestly thought we've had this conversation before. When is he gonna get the call? Well, he said, I'm going to get the call this week. I'm going to get the call after 12 days of being in the AAA and saying, no. I ain't going to do this. My guy had 47 at-bats, 9 runs, a double, 6 home runs, 13 ribs, 5 walks, 9 strikeouts, batted a whole lot of 319, an OBP of 370, a slug of 723, and an OPS of 1093. Caglioni made the Kansas City Royals an offer they could not refuse. Flat out, no pun intended. But you know, I need to come up. I need to play. And quite honestly, everything is kind of showing out in the minors, right? Like you look at what his profile is as a prospect, 45 out of 70 game power. And quite honestly, I think that's much higher. 70 out of 80 raw power. One of the highest I've seen for any prospect in the last couple of years. You know, quite honestly, I never see anybody above like 50, sometimes 60 if we get lucky, but 70, 80. That's just bonkers in terms of ratings. And then speed is still 40-40. Like, this is the key part. And now there's ways to play. They've been moving him around. They've been putting him in the outfield. They've been putting him at first base. He's been playing, all over the place to get him on the field. They can't not keep this kid down. And this is the exciting part. And Kansas City is a young team that wants to win. They're in a window where they, pretty much just paid Bobby Witt. They have Salvi there. And they have a young team where this is the time to win. Just calling up your prospects and going.
The other Italian.
I know the Pasquatch, Pasquatino, man.
Baby.
I know, I love him too, and he's another one. I swear to God, they were about one more like amazing Italian name from being the Kansas City Mobsters. Like it's just gonna be great. But I straight up am excited for Cags. I think quite honestly, this is probably one of those locked and loaded. You need to pause the podcast kind of ad because he is one of the few I will flat out give the actual hype to and say, he can actually translate from day one. This is giving me that Juan Soto vibes where Juan Soto came up. It was an instant translation. Cags has pretty much just done it. I think that he's ready to rock. Add him immediately. Pause the podcast.
Yeah, Matt, fully agree. Even before I start talking, pause the podcast and make sure Jac Caglioni of the Kansas City Royals is not owned in your league. Matt touched on it. He's been playing right. He's been playing left field in the minors of late since the beginning of May, end of April. They've been getting him accustomed to that. I don't really have the information if he's been doing well in the outfield or not, but he should play. He's 6'5", 240, 250. Sorry, let me not undersell him. Mountain of a man. The power's legit. The hit tool's been awesome in the minors this year, as Matt was talking about. Want to see a little bit more because, the last, in the minors in 2024, a little bit of trouble with batting average. So I'm thinking off the bat, 260, 270 power. 260, 270 average with a 30-plus home run pace of power. The RBI should be legit in that lineup. It looks like they're going to hit him at least fifth. According to Roster Resource. I love that because then he's right behind Salvi, the Pasquatch, and Bobby Witt, and that's going to give him a lot of opportunities to get RBIs. So if you're looking for power, RBIs, honestly, even you should probably just add him everywhere. Even if I would even venture to say, if you're in an 8-man league, you might even want to look at Caglioni. If you got a spot at the end of your bench that isn't performing, add him right now. Caglioni is 54% owned on Yahoo, and that's only going to keep rising over the next couple of days, especially if he takes off.
All right, last stop.
All right, Matt, I got to steal it from you. You come to me on the day of my son's promotion and you ask me a favor. But, all right, let's move on to this next guy. I know Matt and I are really excited. If you can't tell, we're Italian New Yorkers, so we just get excited about this kind of stuff. But let's move on to somebody else. Let's talk about Mick Abel, who is back, baby. Oh, my God. Can't be more excited for Mick Abel to be back up in his first start. In the majors. It was May 18th against the Pirates. He went 6 strong, didn't give up a run, struck out 9, got the win, had a 0.83 whip. His second start is going to come this week, June 4th against Toronto. A little bit more of a test here. Bichette, Vlad, them boys been hitting a little bit of late. So let's see what Abel's got. He was just still dominating down in the minors this year. So, there's a chance because, as I said, I think we said this the last time we talked about Mick Abel. Taijuan Walker needs to go to the bullpen, which is happening. But let's see when Aaron Nola is supposed to come back. Could be sooner. Let's see how this injury heals. But Abel's going to get his chance, man. And I really hope if he has a great start here against Toronto that they let him stick, man. The kid was a very high-end prospect, a couple years back. Didn't really figure it out in the minors. Made some adjustments coming into 2025, and he's looked stellar. 28% owned on Yahoo. Another guy that I want to almost say, not 8-man leagues. I don't think he's as has as much pedigree as Caglioni, who was number 10 prospect in all of baseball. Forgot to mention that earlier. But Abel, I want to say your 12-man leagues and anything deeper than that needs to be owned. Shallower leagues than that, pitching is tough. I play in some, shallow leagues with deep benches, right? And a guy like Abel's owned in all those leagues. So I really think you guys need to look at your roster, make some tough decisions. We're in June, guys. We're in June. It's the time that you really got to make those tough decisions. Grab a guy like Mick Abel who has a lot of upside, cut somebody who's underperforming that, just isn't going to be worth it. I say Mick Abel, 28% on the Yahoo, should be closer to 75, maybe 80%.
Yeah, I mean, there's a world where he's up for at least a month, and this is a showcase moment. What I love to see is the second they sent him down, he went out and fanned 8, and then was like, "Yo, like I'm still here, I'm still a beast." There's a reason why I tied the call up day for the Phillies record with 9 strikeouts, no earned run through 6. Mick Abel's a stud. I wouldn't say like a full blown stud, but a stud for a prospect that showed up and has the pedigree to do so. I definitely am adding him at least for it. I mean, Toronto is either a team that's going to crush the ball or the team that's going to fall flat on their face. They're a little bit over 500. So I'm willing to roll them out there on the matchup. I think that the stuff is going to be good. At worst case scenario, we get a 4.5 ERA in this matchup, but we have like 6 strikeouts and we're pretty happy with the result and possibly a win. And he might even go 6 and get the quality start. So there's just good signs pointing for this matchup. And I think there's also a next week possibility as well. So we'll see. So I don't foresee Aaron Nola coming back anytime soon. So that's really where I stand on him. Before we come up and I start talking about Cobe Mayo and, other prospects that actually we need to be stashed. We got something coming up real quick on the other side of this, and we'll get into this. And okay, get the supplies you need from the site that's made for skilled traders, Supply House. Whether you're into plumbing, HVAC, electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product information to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need to deliver fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person every time. and a trade pro looking for an extra edge. Their Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now is your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, electrical supplies in just a few clicks. Plus, use a promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order at supplyhouse.com. Hey, look, if you were in on the insider track, you would have already known about this yesterday. Well, actually, 2 days ago, because we record a night early. On top of that, you're also going to get rankings on, our waiver wires. You're going to be able to ask us questions and get a response within 24 hours. There's just so much more that we offer in this little tight knit on the insider track that you don't get in this 30-minute podcast. And that's the way to stay ahead of your team, ahead of your league, right? The way you win championships. So join it. Links in the description below. You get a free 2 weeks. Why the hell not? All right, let's get back into it. We were talking. I mentioned Cobe Mayo of the Baltimore Orioles playing third base. He couldn't crack it. He couldn't even crack spring training this year to break camp and be on the roster. But this year in the minors, before getting recalled, he has been pretty darn good. Not like wonderful, where I'm super excited, where he gets his own intro song from day one, but enough for me to say, hey, I think I need to add him. He's a prospect that I've kind of always liked. 168 at bats, 24 runs, 10 doubles, 2 triples, 8 bombs, 28 ribs, a stolen base. Batting average looks absolutely putrid at 226, but walk to strikeout is kind of about 50%, which isn't bad, but I'd like to see a little bit better. But he has an OBP of 318, a slug of 452, which is really nice, and an OPS, which is average of 770. So it's also just muddled in, and we'll just see where this journey takes us when it comes to Cobe Mayo. I don't know how excited I am for him being long-term. I don't know if he actually is going to translate. It may take a couple times or a couple weeks for him to get his groove going. It's a matter of, and this is the real problem, I feel, the patience level that the Baltimore Orioles as an organization is going to have for him, right? They clearly showed they didn't. Otherwise, he would have broke camp and they would have let him figure it out in the bigs. But no, they sent him down. So I don't know what the leash is looking like, or if this is kind of more of a showcase for him to come out, perform, and then get on to another team. So this is I'm going to add with speculation, and this is kind of like a 12-man and deeper league, 10-man, 10-man. I'm not really looking at it. Cobe Mayo is just somebody that you need to kind of get on your team and then see where this journey takes us.
Yeah, Matt, before I go on a whole tangent, because guys, I'm listening to you talk about Baltimore Orioles, and I'm just like, what's going on over there, man? But let's talk about Cobe Mayo specifically, because that's what we're here to do. 6'4", 230, mountain of a man. Caglione light, like dollar store Caglione, I'd say. He's got a lot.
$1.25 now, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. We're living in 2025. So the big thing here with Mayo is, right, he has a lot of pop. I think that's probably the peak of what we're going to see. If he hits in a good spot in the lineup, you'll get some RBIs. Not super excited about Mayo. He's 6% owned on Yahoo. He's third base eligible. 15-mans, AL onlys, those type of situations, your dynasty leagues, your long-term keeper leagues, if he's out there, maybe. You keep a lot of guys, maybe. You have NA spots, a minor league system, maybe. But otherwise, I'm not super excited about Mayo. He's underperformed in the majors last year when he first got the chance. A little cup of coffee last year. Mayo got 17 games, hit 089 with 22 strikeouts, no homers, no ribbies. This year so far through 6 games, 105, 105 batting average, 8 strikeouts, a walk. Just hasn't really looked the part yet. So I'm not super excited. Like I said, deep league play right now for Mayo, but I am excited about this next guy and the possible call this year, but definitely a dynasty kind of guy. Kevin McGonigal, number 26 prospect in all of baseball, Detroit Tigers. Kid's been on a tear. He was hurt at the beginning of the season. I forget the exact injury, but I know it was major. But last 16 games, only 16 games he's played in the minors so far. 415 batting average, 11 runs, 10 doubles, a homer, 12 RBIs. 14 walks to 4 strikeouts. You never see prospects with this kind of plate discipline. The kid is really good. He's more known for the hit tool than anything else. I think there's some sneaky power in there. Trying to see what the exact injury was that he was dealing with. But the kid's got a lot of upside. Detroit's been doing a lot of good things over there with their prospects, and they've been really good this year. They've been a great baseball team. So I definitely think there's a reason for them to get their best prospects up. And, a guy like this who's just been trailblazing so far. Glaber's been good at second. McKinstry's been pretty good at third. There's not like a super lot of open spots. Colt Keith there too, who plays middle infield, who's been DHing. So it might take something like, hey, look, Mick Abel's up because of injury. Could happen with McGonigal. There's a reason he's the number 26 prospect in all of baseball. Somebody definitely to keep your eyes on. But I will say this, if you're playing a dynasty or, a long-term keeper kind of thing where you keep a lot of guys, definitely somebody to go out there and make sure he's owned because the kid has a lot of upside.
Yeah. Quite honestly, I have really nothing to really add on him other than, everything you pretty much said is right. Just a matter of if and when. I just don't know if he actually comes up this year. But, it is what it is. He's a name that you want to keep in the back of your head. I don't think I'm 100% stashing him on my roster at this point, but we'll see. But, we're going to move on. I'm going to talk about Samuel Basalo of the Baltimore Orioles. And I like Basalo. He's a guy that, quite honestly, I've been tracking his pretty much for last couple of years. I've liked the raw power that he offers. I like just the whole profile behind him. And he looks like a guy that's going to mash. So, just a little inside baseball, what his profile looks like based off of his, a quick look. 55 out of 70 game power, 70 out of 80 raw power, same on the Caglioni level, speed of 40 of 40. And, he has that catcher kind of first base kind of profile, which is nice. And there is possible room for him to play. And that's the part what I like. I think he's going to be up sooner than I think. Even though O'Hearn is good, O'Hearn also plays outfield at times. And that's where I think we might see him move. So I think Basalo is maybe just, hey, it's contract control time away where, hey, it's now surpassed that time and now you're up. Let's see what you got kind of type deal. He's been absolutely crushing it this year. You look at, where is this page? Here we go. You look at what he's been doing this year in the minors, 116 at bats, 21 runs, 6 doubles, 10 bombs, 21 ribs, 21 walks to 35 strikeouts, which the batting average really isn't translating when you're seeing the walks to strikeouts. Essentially, he's batting at 233, but an OBP of 348, a slug of 543, an OPS of 891. He's doing all the right things. He's probably just getting a little unlucky. I like Basalo a lot. The call is, I think, the second they feel that they have enough contractual obligation for them, and then Basalo will be up. So it's just a matter of time. So I am honest to God, I am stashing him because he could be a guy that is an instant cheat code because he's going to play every day and most likely have that catcher eligibility till the end of the year at minimum. And that is going to be a sneaky little ad when he does come up.
Yeah, man, I have another fun comp here. Another fun comp of somebody who's playing great right now in the majors for Basalo. Maybe a little bit of Cal Raleigh in this guy. Maybe he's not going to carry you in the batting average department, but I love the 6 doubles and 10 homers in 35 games in the minors this year. Absolutely mashing. And he's a mountain of a man, 6'4", almost 200 pounds. Love the frame on the kid. But Matt, yeah, great breakdown. Only thing I might add here is you were kind of talking about it with Mayo. I think there's a trade here with Baltimore this year at the trade deadline. I think they're going to send a bunch of their prospects somewhere for some starting pitching. That's absolutely what they need right now. It's what's holding the team back. They have all these young, great bats, not a lot of pitching prospects in that Baltimore system anymore. So why not go out there, trade a couple of these guys, the Basalos, the Mayos, the Colton Cowsers, the guys like that, and go out there and get them a star pitcher. I think that's at least what they should be doing. But all right, guys, before we move in to the second half of this episode and talk about Nick Kurtz, another prospect, but listen, he is in the majors and on the IL. Sawyer Gibson-Long making his debut, and possibly our last Brandon Woodruff update. Those names and more coming up next. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO. full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you just stop managing your money and start building wealth. With their surprising insights, when I started using Monarch, I just realized how much I was spending on the food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. With their easy collaboration, managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track your shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. And guys, we know money comes with stress, right? So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. And all right, guys, before Mr. Caglioni came up, there was another big man on campus, another big, beefy first baseman, right? And it was Nick Kurtz. And listen, he's on the IL. He's a little bit banged up at the moment, but he's still another big 6'5", 240-pound first baseman that was mashing in the minors. And guess what? He was starting to come along in the majors. If you weren't paying attention, he was starting to hit for power. The batting average was coming up. He's starting to take a couple more walks. I'm just even going to read you the whole 28 games for Nick Kurtz so far in the majors. It's 94 at-bats, 11 runs, 2 doubles, a triple, 5 homers, 15 RBIs, 11 walks to 36 strikeouts, and a 245 batting average. Not bad for a 22-year-old. Not a bad start. And that was a kid who was struggling at the beginning when he first got the call. Like I said, he had been heating up of late. He had a 2-homer game at one point. I'm going to try to see if I could find the date on it. Yeah, May 20. Listen to this. Since May 20th for Kurtz, right? 2 for 4 on May 20th with a bomb. May 21st, 2 bombs, 2 for 5. May 23rd, a home run, 3 RBIs. And on May 24th, went 2 for 3 with a run and an RBI. The kid was figuring it out. So like I said, prospect progression isn't always linear. It takes times with some guys. It's a hamstring issue with Kurtz. He's been running the bases, looks like late June, because they're saying they might send him down to the minors, just to make sure he's right and, back on track. But hey, listen, Nick Kurtz only 23% owned on Yahoo. If you need a hitting stash right now, there's probably not a lot of better ones that are that lowly owned as Nick Kurtz. Definitely has a lot of upside. What did I say? Who was I talking about? Basalo was, got a lot of power, but this kid Kurtz, man, he's what was he? A top 20 prospect, a top 10 prospect, a number 14 prospect in all of baseball. There's a reason for it. I love the kid. Honestly, should be closer to 40% owned. Should be stashed in a lot of leagues. I'd say 12-man and higher.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like Kurtz. I've always liked Kurtz. He kind of thrust himself up. Another one that said, "Hey, you're going to play me." It just hasn't been, full force yet, but I think that's going to turn around. And who knows how much of this injury is actually what was hampering his playing time. So we'll see. Definitely worth the stash at this point, but I'm going to move on because Don pretty much covered a lot. I'm going to move on to Sawyer Gibson-Long, and he's playing for them Detroit Tigers. He's 7% owned, and he's a pitcher. So he's been dealing with an elbow and hip injury. He's finally back and starting Tuesday against the White Sox. So today, as you're listening, but I'm not like, as much as if you're in the same day ad, I might go out and do it because it's the White Sox, but you're not really missing anything. It's kind of like a wait and see first start in a while, but he's a good prospect. He's somebody that, I liked what I saw in the short stint that he came up last year and did. He did 20 innings. He had 26 strikeouts, a 2.70 ERA with a 1.1 whip. Everything kind of looked good. You look at like things he did in the minors and you look at the ERA, and I kind of ignore it because I think that for a guy that you see, move so quick up over the last 2 years, and then they pretty much did not demote him and say, "Hey, like you're coming back down." He saw AA and then went up to AAA. They kept him there. He forced his way into the roster, even with a 4.3 ERA, and then showed out in the bigs, meaning they were working on some releases, some grips, and things like that that would help his development. So that I like to see, especially when you see a higher ERA and then he translates in the bigs to obviously better statistics. It says that, hey, he's actually got some good. So I'm going to add him and see what this has. Tomorrow's start is going to be big. So even if I add him, I'm not able to start him because my ads go in the next day. I'm going to see what that is, and I'm going to see what that next matchup is and possibly roll him out if it's a decent matchup. So I think Gibson actually has a shot at being a pretty good contributor for at least a couple weeks and see where we go from there. But he's definitely worth an ad at this point.
Yeah, Matt, great breakdown. He's getting a little bit older now. What is he, 27 now at this point? Yeah, 27 years old.
Yep.
Matt mentioned, I believe he got Tommy John back in 2023 or the end of 2023, beginning of 2024. That's why he's been out so long, hasn't pitched since 2023. But when he got called up to the bigs, as I mentioned, he had a great showing, striking guys out, kept the ERA low, has great mentors. I can't stress that enough. It's always great to be on a team when you have great mentor pitchers. He has Flaherty, he has Skubal, he has Mize. He just has all these great guys around him. So when you have that kind of opportunity to learn from those guys, it's going to improve your growth and all that stuff. And Gibson-Long's a big guy, 6'4", 225, mountain of a man, has good stuff, could be very, very useful for fantasy purposes down the stretch here. Honestly, if he gets into this Detroit rotation and sticks around, honestly, he is somebody that I don't want to say must add, but hey, listen, if you could still snag this guy right now, as you're listening today, I'd go out there again, 7% owned on Yahoo. And Matt was talking about this. It's tentatively Tuesday against the White Sox, could be Wednesday, would still be against those White Sox. And then his next start would come against, looks like at Baltimore, which isn't super scary right now. It's not a horrible matchup. So Sawyer Gibson-Long, Detroit Tigers starting pitcher, is somebody I definitely want to look into adding. Let's talk about this last guy. Let's talk about Brandon Woodruff. Brandon Woodruff watch is officially almost over. Woody is hopefully at the end of his recovery here. He's getting up there in ownership percentage, though, but we just want to keep letting you guys know that Woodruff could be a difference maker. 65% owned on Yahoo. Kind of check your leagues right now. I'd go out there and do it. In Woodruff's last start, he struck out 6, allowed 1 unearned run, 5 hits, no walks, 7 innings. Honestly, the ankle looks good. The Brewers look to have him have one more start. This was last Thursday, so the start's probably coming around here at the beginning of the week, middle of the week. Then could he be back by tentatively Monday? Could be. And let's look who the Brewers line up against early next week, late this week. We'll get an idea who Woodruff potentially will return against. Doesn't look like the easiest of potential matchups. Could be Atlanta, possibly, or San Diego, maybe St. Louis, depending on how quick or slow he comes back. But I would hope he gets St. Louis. Atlanta or San Diego is kind of going to be a tough matchup for a guy like Woodruff coming off the IL. But he's been good. He's been good down in the minors. I don't think he's ever going to get back to the Cy Young caliber pitcher that he was. But the guy's a wily vet. He's still not even super old. He is. No, he's getting up there, 32 years old. But hey, it's not the end of the world there. At 32, we could listen, I'm turning 33 this year. So listen, we could still go out there and get it done. But let's talk about, if you're not familiar with Woodruff, even back in 2023, last time he pitched, 11 starts, 2.28 ERA, 67 innings, 74 strikeouts with an 0.8 whip. The guy's thrown 7 years in the bigs, 115 starts, a 3.10 ERA, 680 innings, 788 strikeouts with a 104 whip on his career. Let's just talk a little bit about what he's done in the minors, just to give you guys an idea of how he's been performing this year so far. Down in the minors across, looks like 3 levels, he has made 8 starts with a 1.96 ERA. He's actually been dominant, 36 innings, 33 strikeouts, and a 1.11 whip. Woodruff, like we said with Caglionio, it's almost a pause the podcast moment. Make sure Woodruff isn't available in your league, because if he is, you need to snag him up instantly. Like I said, not Cy Young caliber, but could he be a low to mid 3s ERA guy with around a K per 9 and a very solid whip? Of course he can. So Brandon Woodruff, make sure he is not owning your league. And if he's not, go out there and snag. But guys, that is all for today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. And shout out to our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. And after you make us your first listen, go check out our boy Sully over at Locked On MLB and make him your second listen. And guys, shout out to all you fans. We truly appreciate each and every one of you. But until next time, guys, see ya.